So in chapter 25 of St. Matthew's Gospel now, Jesus is telling a parable. A parable is an earthly story with a heavenly meaning. It is a story that is used to bring across a principle or a lesson. And we have the parable of talents. And what is the parable of talents? Well, the Bible tells us that a master or a wealthy man, he was going on a trip. He was preparing to go on a trip. And so he called these three servants that he had, and he gave them different talents. Some would interpret the talents to be money. Some passages would say a mina. And based on certain scholars' interpretation, it could have been up to 3 months' wages that was given to these individuals. And so it was a big sum that they were given. The talent that they were given, in other words, it was worth something. It valued, it had great value. Okay, it's like something precious as a diamond, right? And so what we understand is that the master entrusted them. Now here is where the story gets interesting, because the Bible tells us that to some he gave, to one he gave 5 talents, to the other he gave 2 talents, and to the other he gave 1 talent. Now it is easy for us to look and say, oh, the master was probably showing favoritism. No, let's not get ahead of ourselves. You see, the master knew his servants, and he knew what they were capable of handling and managing, and so he gave everyone according to what they could have handled. So in other words, if he failed in his assignment, his response or excuse could not be that he was overwhelmed. I hope it's starting to make sense. So the master gives them 5, 2, and 1 talents, and he goes on this faraway journey. The scripture tells us that sometime afterwards, the master returned, and he wanted to see now what the servants had done with what he had given to them. The first one that was given 5 talents, he multiplied it, he doubled it, and he got 5 more, and the master praised him. The second one that was given 2 talents, he doubled as well, and he was praised by the master. Now the third one, we find something different. The scripture tells us that he buried his talent. He did nothing with it. He did not utilize it. He was rebuked. Not only was he rebuked, but he was also, he lost what was given to him. The master said, take the money from this servant and give it to the one with the 10 bags of silver. God is our master. He is the creator of this world. The scripture says all things were made by him, and without him wasn't anything made that is made. The scripture says we are his people, the sheep of his pastures. Another passage says we are God's workmanship. We are created unto him for good works. All right. And so God becomes the proprietor. We become the manager or the steward. So similar to this story here, God has blessed us with abilities. He's given us talents, and he's given us gifts. And God has a mandate for us. We have a responsibility to take care, to properly manage the things that God has given to us. We have to realize that as believers, we have a responsibility for everything that has been given to us in this world. We are not to take it light or for granted, like what the third servant did. You see, he did not value his master. He thought about himself. He was selfish, and so he buried. He did as he saw fit. He never thought about the type of person his master was. He didn't invest and gained return on his investment. He buried it. He squandered. He was lazy, and he did not utilize that which was given to him. God is similar. He is our master, and he's entrusted us with this responsibility. And in this parable, we have this twofold interpretation, or application rather, whereby one is speaking of the Lord being the manager or the boss or the creator, and we are his workmanship. Now God has left us here on earth to spread the message of the good news, the message of salvation to everyone who will listen. He has given us the mandate to go and tell of his good works and his wonderful deeds. The songwriter says, go tell it on the mountains, over the hills, and everywhere. And we have a responsibility to use the gifts and capabilities that God has given us to multiply and to bring a yield of souls when Jesus returns. And the last interpretation or application of that rather is that the things that we've been entrusted with down here, we have a responsibility. We cannot afford to be lazy. We cannot afford to be selfish. The scripture says, a lame man fold his hands and eat his own flesh. We have an opportunity here to utilize that which God has blessed us with. Let's not complain about what we don't have or what others have. God has given us exactly what we need, the right tools to bring forward a yield and to be successful stewards of his kingdom. May the Lord bless us and help us to be better stewards over the talents that he's granted unto us.